Hello and welcome to Facts About Fat. This is our latest video in the series, and hopefully you're gaining lots of new information and starting to control your fat levels. And don't forget, the more you promote these videos to other people, friends, family, etc., the more, well, not only will health be improving, but also the more free information you will actually get. For every 5 new likes that we get on our Facebook site, we will actually release another video. And this video is on glycemic index, and you may well have heard of the glycemic index before, or the GI diet. And generally we don't advocate certain diets necessarily. We're certainly not trying to sell you our own diet, but the GI diet is certainly one that makes sense. It's not a be all and end all, but certainly you want to take it into account when you're trying to control your body fats. So let's take a look at the glycemic index then. Well, what is it? It's a way of ranking foods based upon the rate at which they raise blood glucose levels. So if you consume a food, a carbohydrate food, what it's going to do as we consume it is it's going to raise the blood sugar levels or blood glucose levels. Now, those blood glucose levels can be raised quickly or more slowly. So high GI foods raise blood glucose levels quickly, low GI foods raise blood glucose levels slowly. And they're all numbered, and you might see this on some products that you actually purchase from the shops. Sometimes they say an actual number, sometimes they'll just be categorized high, moderate, low. They're not all like that, but what you can do if you want to find out more information is just go onto the internet or buy a book on GI, and it will have a whole list of foods and what rating they are. So let's actually have a look at some low and high GI foods. Now, low carbohydrate GI foods, these raise blood glucose levels gradually. So what they do is they give us a slower energy, but it's longer lasting. Now, high GI foods actually raise blood glucose levels rapidly. Now, this gives us quick energy, which could be good, especially if we're playing sports or doing exercise. But certainly if we're not doing that stuff, then it isn't necessarily going to be good for us, because the energy doesn't last long. So what we're likely to get is energy yo-yos. And some people live their lives like this every day. They're getting high energy levels, low energy levels, high energy levels, low energy levels. Of course, what happens is if you have some high GI foods, after a short while, you no longer feel energized. So what do? Well, you have more of them, so you're more likely to overeat. They become addictive, and again, those energy levels are going up and down. Now, the problem with that is, as well, is when you raise blood glucose levels rapidly, the body takes it out of the blood, because what glucose is, it's sugar, and we don't want high amounts of that in the blood. It takes it out of the blood, and one of the places it puts it is our fat cells. So really, consuming high GI foods can result in fat gain. So which foods aren't good from a waistline? Like I say, you can actually have a look on the internet and get a whole list of foods. But if we look at some of these here, generally GI foods or low GI foods tend to be more natural based foods. And years ago, when we ate a diet of all natural foods, it was a lot lower GI diets. What happens nowadays is we're eating a lot of processed foods, a lot of unnatural foods, refined carbohydrates, and they are higher in GI. So certainly there is some low GI foods that aren't necessarily natural as well. But if you look over here, a lot of these foods, these examples here, these are all natural based foods. Or we've got the bread at the bottom is wholemeal bread. It's not the white variety, it's not the refined variety, it's wholemeal bread. If we take a look at some high GI foods, well, we've got some white bread in there, we've got a baguette, we've got things like puffed wheat and cornflakes, which again aren't natural, they're not good. You may see a bowl of cornflakes as being quite harmless in regards to fat gain, not necessarily so. They might not have loads of calories, you might not have loads of them, but certainly it won't be very good nutrition for you, and they can actually lead to weight gain because they are high in GI. We also have some other foods, things like parsnips, you want to just be wary of, particularly if you are someone that does put on weight with high GI foods. Again, we've got the white rice, so we'd want the whole of the grain. Potato is also another food that we need to be aware of. Potatoes, and certainly things like jacket potato or mashed potato, they are high in GI. And in actual fact, although you may be thinking, well, potato is a vegetable, which it is, generally we don't want to include potatoes within the government recommendation of at least 5 portions of fruit and veg per day. So discount that. Not to say never eat it, it's got some good stuff in it, but we've got to be a little bit careful with it. Now we can actually modify our glycemic index a little bit. So GI can actually be raised by cooking the food. We don't necessarily want to raise it, remember. So something like if we were consuming a carrot, for example, if you cook it, you're going to raise the GI. So you might want to eat some raw food, some salad. That can be good. Letting fruits get riper also increases GI. So for example, a banana, if it's more brownish rather than yellowish or slightly green, then it's going to be a higher GI. Also, the more we process food, so again, consuming a diet of processed foods, and the more processed it is, the more it's going to raise that GI. You can actually lower GI a little bit by adding some proteins, fats and fibre to those carbohydrate-based foods. Also, it depends upon the actual amount of carbohydrates consumed, which is known as glycemic load. And what that is, it not only takes into account the glycemic index, which is the rate at which it raises blood sugar or blood glucose levels, but also the amount that we have or are likely to have. So something like raisins, for example, you might consume a few raisins, but really if it's only a few, it's not going to have too much of an impact on those blood sugar levels. Something like potatoes, mashed potato, jacket potatoes, again, not only are they high GI, but you might actually consume them in reasonably large quantities, and again, that's not going to be any good for your waistline. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Again, please promote it. The more people we get on our Facebook site, the more free videos and information you get. Don't forget also, we've got a lot of other services. You might want to learn more about becoming a fitness instructor, personal trainer, where you can learn more about nutrition and exercise for managing weight. And our website is www.actifit.co.uk. Thanks for watching.